the government news brief for Monday, October 17, 2016. In the news, the digitization of the General Registrar's Office and its records are moving apace. The Guyana Fire Service is gearing up to launch its emergency medical service and research at the aquaculture to benefit local fish farmers. Stay tuned for the details. Thank you for staying with us. I am Renetta LaFleur. Now for the details. Applying for a birth, death, or marriage certificate may soon become easier as the government moves to complete the digitization of the General Registrar's Office and its records. Details in this Delicia Haynes report.
The digitizing of records would capture and digitize all records at the GRO from 1987 to present. This process will provide a database that will allow records to be retrieved faster. Minister of Citizenship Winston Felix says the process that started this year should soon be completed.
The project envisages work from 1896 to 1987. As you know, from 1896 to 1986. As you know, we are doing at GRO from 1987 to current. And that the time frame for that is 3 years.
Minister Felix explains that the digitization process will also enable the GRO to secure records for much longer periods and under safer conditions. The Ministry of Citizenship is currently awaiting the government's approval for additional consultancy services that would see the GRO being computerized to deal with digitized records.
I'm awaiting a report now from the e-governance department because they did another set of bids have just been assessed. And I think that out of this process, a contractor might be identified. So I'm awaiting that report.
Over the years, numerous persons have complained about the slow delivery of services by the GRO. Felix assures that the government is working towards the delivery of better services to citizens. For the Government News Brief, I am Delicia Haynes.
The Guyana Fire Service is gearing up to launch its emergency medical service in keeping with international best practices. More in this Paul McAdam report.
The Guyana Fire Service plans to launch an emergency medical service in November. Fire Chief Marlon Gentle says this will be a collaborative effort between the Ministry of Public Security and Public Health.
It's really to provide emergency medical services to the length and breadth of Guyana in 3 main categories: an ambulance service, a marine ambulance service, and also have the capacity and capabilities to also mount air ambulance operations. But that's down the road.
The fire chief says the project will be implemented in several phases.
The first phase being starting with the most populated region in Guyana, which is Region 4. We intend to roll out sometime in November the first phase of this EMS program, utilizing collaborative ambulances from the Guyana Fire Service and those that will be made available to us from the Ministry of Public Health. We intend to use 4 pilot fire stations in this launching phase and the Project Dawn facilities to launch the Region 4 ambulance services. This will cover an area from the Timeri catchment area onto the East Coast and around Enmore.
Training of emergency medical technicians has already begun.
The collaboration will be, or has started as a matter of fact, with the training of the emergency medical technicians who are now certified by the Ministry of Health. We have so far 14 new persons who are employed by the Guyana Fire Service and who have been trained and certified as emergency medical technicians. Right now, in the Guyana Fire Service, we have those persons in here. They're going through some other preparatory training to launch this service. It is expected that these 14 EMTs will be augmented from the existing emergency medical technicians from the Georgetown Hospital, who will merge together to form this Region 4 unit.
The rollout of the project will see Region 4 serving as a pilot to iron out any potential difficulties with as many as 5 ambulances available initially. When finalized, at least 20 ambulances will be used with some 160 staff available to offer emergency medical services on a 24-hour basis. Paul McAdam, Government News Brief.
Minister Cathy Hughes encourages young people to be proactive in their personal development, which does not always carry a price. Delon Sanka tells us more.
Minister of Public Telecommunication Catherine Hughes is encouraging young people to become volunteers. She says that this can help them to build their CVs and to make them more marketable.
The onus is on each of us to get up and go. Most of us have had all kinds of challenges in life. Life throws you all kinds of unfortunate situations. Lots of curveballs. But you know, you are measured on how you take the cards that you were dealt and what you made out of them.
Speaking with the Government Information Agency, Hughes said volunteering gave her the experience she needed to get her first paying job.
I remember I got my first job and my resume had no experience. And I was going for a job as a radio reporter, and they said to me, "You don't have any experience, you haven't worked before. Are you sure you could do this?" I was able to go into great detail as to what and how you produce a radio story. And that was because by the second year of volunteering at the radio station, they knew me and I was going out doing stories.
Hughes' advice to young people is to build a resume, to invest in themselves so that they can have a brighter future. Delon Sanko for the Government News Brief.
Research being conducted by the Aquaculture Station could benefit local fish farmers. Find out how in this Paul McAdam report.
The Saturday saw Aquaculture Station at Monrepo, East Coast, Demerara is providing hassa fingerlings to the local industry. Fisheries Officer Kamal Siriram says other species are also being looked at.
Basically, this facility is well known for the hatching of the tilapia fingerlings, which are the Jamaican red and the Nile tilapias. There are also been a little bit of improvement, and we are now raising the tambaki. Okay, this tambaki here is actually a Brazilian native fish, it's high yielding.
Siriram says that the aquaculture station is also working with local fish species to mitigate the decline of oceanic species available to Guyana.
It takes a few years to grow to this size, but it's much more fleshy, and it's required on the market because of the decline level of the marine species that we're having. And it's part of our freshwater species, the tambaki and the tilapias. Here we have our brackish water species. These are grown on the coastlands, mostly in Berbice area.
The aquaculture station, which is part of the Ministry of Agriculture, ensures that aquaculture is developed in a sustainable and controlled manner, optimizing economic and environmental benefits. It currently provides extension services to local aquaculture farmers and is soon to collaborate with the Institute of Applied Science and Technology at the University of Guyana to test locally produced fish feed. This could result in lower production costs for fish farmers. Paul McAdam, Government News Brief.
Coconut farmers and other interested persons would have the opportunity to learn about the coconut pest at the Coconut Festival. Details from Delon Sanko.
Director General of Tourism Donald Sinclair says that the Coconut Festival will explore ways to combat the infestation of the red palm mite. Sinclair says experts will shed light on how this pest can be eradicated.
We have two experts that will be making presentations dealing specifically with coconut infestation, because we recognize that it is a problem that is plaguing coconut cultivation in some parts of the country. There are some varieties that are more susceptible to red mite infestation than others. But the festival is going to shed some light on that, and we will also be proposing some solutions that could be workable for dealing with the red mite infestations.
Meanwhile, the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARE, is combating the red palm mite by utilizing green agricultural practices. NARE's CEO, Dr. Umnot, says the institute is rearing natural enemies to combat these pests and is encouraging farmers to adopt those practices.
We have on the talking about how we intend to, in the long term, control the red palm mite using natural enemies instead of the use of chemicals.
The red palm mite forms colonies on the underside of the coconut leaves and feed on the leaves. In December of 2015, Cabinet approved the sum of $49 million to fight the red palm mite infestation. Sinclair says this project is being monitored. The Coconut Festival begins October 21st to the 23rd at the Arthur Chung Convention Center. Delon Sanko for the Government News Brief.
Today, October 17, is International Day for the Eradication of Poverty, recognized by the United Nations. The day is observed under the theme, Moving from Humiliation and Exclusion to Participation, Ending Poverty in All Its Forms. The theme highlights how important it is to recognize and address the humiliation and exclusion endured by many people living in poverty. This means we must go beyond seeing poverty merely as the lack of income or what is necessary for material well-being, such as food, housing, land, and other assets, in order to fully understand poverty in its multiple dimensions. Outgoing Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in his message said, poverty is not simply measured by inadequate income, it is manifested in restricted access to health, education, and other essential services, and too often by the denial or abuse of other fundamental human rights. Let us listen to the healed voices of people living in poverty. Let us commit to respect and defend the human rights of all people and end humiliation and social exclusion that people living in poverty face every day by promoting their involvement in global efforts to end extreme poverty once and for all. We have come to the end of today's edition of the Government News Brief. The details of these and other stories can be found on GINA's website. GINA has an active Facebook page, and we encourage you to visit and like us so you can be informed as the news unfolds. Do join us again tomorrow for another edition of the Government News Brief. I am Renetta LaFleur. Thank you for watching.